take a look at the deck slowly once. He knows what he's up against. It's already happened once, and we'll see if it's going to happen again.
Lost in the storyline of Robert's incredible run through the tournament, if he wins this event, he will have both arguably a more impressive beard than Chris Van Meter, and will have won an Open more recently than Chris Van Meter.
Oh, wow.
Shots fired.
Shots are just
Shots fired.
Going off. What did Chris do to deserve that?
Nothing. I'm a reporter. I have to call it as I see it.
You're just reporting the news. I understand.
I don't make it up. I just report it.
I understand. You're just doing what you got to do. I understand. Cucanato on your right, Bargo on your left. Reanimator Rook Delver again. Cucanato undefeated. Has already defeated Bargo over this tournament in a very impressive fashion. The first game we watched, he just put a Gristlebrand into play on turn 1. Whatever.
No big deal.
And then in game 2, he worked his way through a Daze, a Force Will, and a Flusterstorm. Whatever.
No big deal.
Yeah.
And what was really impressive about the Daze game was opponent goes turn 1. Craig goes turn 1 Delver of Secrets. Robert goes discard to hand size, put an Ellis Norn in the graveyard. And Craig untaps and reveals Daze against an opponent who's just intentionally missed their first land drop.
Mm-hmm.
And he still easily got the Ellis Norn to play a couple of turns later.
You lose.
You lose.
Continue?
You lose, sir.
Yeah. Both players shuffling up here. Should be a fun one between these two players. Again, our backup match. Another Rug Delver deck. Kyle Hutchins just got done taking care of Tom Gensman. Rug Delver got by Blue or Red Delver. And Per Nystrom, who we watched play a little bit earlier today. Really skilled Death and Taxes player. He got by Riley Curran in his Elves deck. So we got Death and Taxes and Rug Delver on one side, Rug Delver and Reanimator on the other. Oftentimes, I'll tell you what happens. Rug Delver normally wins it. Somehow, some way.
I gotta say, I have a feeling we may be in store for a Death and Taxes versus Reanimator finals.
That could be fun to watch.
For sure. And I think Death and Taxes has a pretty big edge there.
You would be surprised.
With what?
Reanimator's better against Death and Taxes than you think.
Because Ellis Norn's just so impactful, even if it gets Caracas?
Yeah, I mean, Ellis Norn is okay in the matchup. It's just I guess he doesn't have an Inkwell.
He's got a Grave Titan.
Yeah, Grave Titan is a delight. Ellis Norn can be really good, too. Depends on the configurations of the deck when we analyze the sideboards and stuff like that, assuming what happens. But a Reanimator, if it was Sneak and Show versus Death and Taxes, I think it would be just a Death and Taxes and a walk away. Reanimator is a little bit more scrappy than you think. It also really forces the hand of Death and Taxes to have the right stuff at the right time. Mm-hmm. They don't waste any time getting you dead. Well, same thing can be said for Sneak and Show.
Yeah, exactly. I guess Thalia is probably a lot better against Sneak and Show than it is against Reanimator.
Yeah.
Because you can get your shop set up very fast. Whereas Thalia on the play will usually be disrupted enough to make a big difference if you're playing against Sneak and Show.
So again, Cucanato and Bargo is what we're going to watch here. Of course, when we do have results from our other match, we'll let you guys know exactly how that is going here. Let's not forget, next week at Knoxville. Going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh,
You thought that was going to be a trivia question. It's not.
It is not.
That's why I said it. And it still could be.
Yeah.
Whatever.
The night's young.
Yeah, you can just go ahead and put right now Knoxville hashtag SCG Premium. Go ahead. You might win something. Then again, you may not. Anybody's guess. I may forgot I did this an hour
ago. All contests are run at the sole discretion of StarCgames.com. Twitch TV is not affiliated with any unauthorized giveaways on its streams. Just had to throw that out there.
I'm just saying anything can happen.
Otherwise, I'm going to get a text from our lawyers.
Yep. We got a mulligan here from Cucan. I didn't know he did that.
Yeah, that's the first one I believe I've seen of him.
Normally he's kept seven insane cards.
7 perfects.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what you do, you're dead. Bargo going to take a mulligan here as well. For Cucanato, it's all about getting Gristlebrand into play. Oftentimes, that's all it takes to take care of Rug Delver. They can't get it off the board once you get it in. And you don't even really have to activate it very much to get the job done. You can just have a 7/7 lifelinker, and they are just dead to it.
That's what we saw in the first game in this match during the Swiss rounds. And Craig had a board. I mean, he was able to fight on for a few turns, but the 7/7 fly and lifelinker, just too much. Just too much.
Oftentimes, that's what Gristlebrand is. Just too much. Got a Cubs fan here on the left. How do you feel about the Cubs?
I don't really pay too much attention to Major League Baseball.
That's not what I asked you.
I don't know.
How do you feel about the Cubs?
Well, I was going to give you a slight backstory on why I had basically no opinion.
I'm sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Which is, I do enjoy going to the San Diego Padres games because they're nearby, and the stadium's really nice.
You always text me when you're at them about some terrible player who got a base hit.
Yep. But I can't imagine being passionate about the 162-game regular season. So it's hard for me to get too invested. Though when the playoffs roll around, I do care. But my investment starting at the playoffs means that I don't really have an opinion on the Cubs because they do not play in the postseason very often.
Yes. A dig was certainly going to happen.
Yeah.
I knew you were working your way towards it.
Yeah.
For all our Cubs fans out there.
Shots fired.
Yep. Definitely shots fired.
I'm bringing the heat now.
I'll tell you what.
Chris Van Meter,
Yep.
Chicago Cubs.
The Padres are really good, too. So,
Doesn't matter to me if they're good or not. I just enjoy going to the games. The ballpark's nice. It's downtown. You know, it's a good experience. That's all.
fair enough.
I don't really care if they win or lose.
Well, thank goodness for that because they don't do a lot of winning.
They win like 45% of their games.
That's not a lot.
That's close to half.
That is just not good.
They win like 75 games a year, which is a lot of individual games to win.
How does winning 75 times a year just mean nothing? That is not good enough. Cucanado going to go down to
Because
5.
there's, getting back to the original point, there's 162 games, which is just so many.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
That's a lot. It is actually kind of hard to be invested during a baseball season.
it's true.
I actually like baseball quite a bit.
Yeah, and I enjoy the game. But if I was watching a college team or a high school game, I would probably enjoy it just the same. I don't have to be watching Major League Baseball to get the, oh, these people are so skilled at baseball type of experience, because I'm just not that informed.
Because they're just not that good. Another mulligan here. Both players going to 5.
And this is a big favorite for Rug Delver. He needs much less resources to operate with. Increases the chance that Robert gets a hand that folds to a daze or folds to a wasteland or something along those lines.
Cucanado with a smile on his face, taking these mulligans in stride. Probably pretty thankful that his opponent's mulliganing too, honestly. If it was 7 versus 5, I would say Craig Bargo is up a game. Reanimator not decked the mulligans all that well.
Yeah. The only team in baseball that I have a really strong opinion about in the negative is the Anaheim Angels, because the first time I went to their ballpark, and I guess this is just a thing the team does, they came out to trains calling all Angels.
I'll stop you right
which
there.
has
I'll
caused
stop
me
you right
to
there.
boo at the top of my lungs.
I will stop you right there. What's wrong with that?
It's the corniest thing that you could possibly do. It is the corniest thing.
It's just a great song.
Again, this is probably best served for an off-air conversation, but because of this experience, I have a very low perception of the Anaheim Angels.
Hey, you've really revealed a lot about yourself this weekend. Your extreme dislike of Train is just unwarranted.
I just don't like corny things. They are really corny.
They are a Grammy Award-winning artiste.
Yeah.
Excuse me, artiste. So good. Train is just, all you Twitter guys out there, at SCG Live, hashtag SCGCIN, at Basic Mountain.
Yeah, I
For
dare
you
you.
Train fans out there.
I dare you to reveal yourself in public. I dare you. Admit for once and for all that you like this band. I don't do a lot of retweeting. This might be your shot. Be honest with me.
Just a great band, man.
Yeah.
Just a great band.
I mean, I like a couple corny bands. Counting Crows is pretty corny sometimes, and I like them fine, but there are degrees. It's just degrees.
Your thoughts on The Fray?
I could not tell you a single song that they
Wow.
have done.
Guess somebody doesn't watch Grey's Anatomy. Apparently the first tweet is Train sucks. Patrick reaching for his phone, going for the retweet button.
I don't see it.
Train is apparently as bad as Block Constructed. That's really saying something for the Pro Tour in 2 weeks. Cucanado going to keep
We are getting
with the
some.
Misty Rainforest. We're getting someone who's making fake accounts saying that Train is bad.
Yeah.
That's what looks like is happening here. An underground C for Cucanado, sitting and starting at 19. Oh my goodness. Awakeness's son, my teacher's son is a tour manager for Train. We have a fan.
No, that's
I
not what that
think-
person said.
I didn't read the rest of
That
the
is
tweet.
not what that person said. All right, well, if both players were light on resources before, they're certainly going to be light on resources now.
time for your thoughts. You see a spell snare, a ponder, a spell piercer, and I mean, as you mentioned, a mulligan obviously. The mulligans this low favors Rug Delver.
Yeah, because you see Craig's hands ready to go right now on 5 cards. He can cast a Nimble Mongoose, he can cast a cantrip, and he has some disruption.
7 is basically luxury.
Yeah, it's totally unnecessary.
I wonder what you take with this last. He's probably a spell pierce.
It just depends. I mean, if Robert's hand is really far away from doing anything, then maybe you take Nimble Mongoose or Ponder, because the game's just going to take a long time and you need to prevent Craig from running you out of the gates. If you actually have a hand that's capable of do something, then I would take Spell Pierce, and you see Robert do exactly that.
The good thing here for Grignato is he's not really going to be underneath significant pressure. Also, if you're Bargo, you're probably a little bit scared to play that Nimble Mongoose on turn 1.
Mm-hmm.
It would take a perfect hand, obviously, from Cucanato to punish you, but at the same time, it is a little bit scary. I'm going to sacrifice here.
I think you guys got to get something going here.
I agree. I overall agree with you. I think you have to just get something on the table and start to pressure your opponent. Makes it so it reanimates worse, among other things.
And Craig's hand's pretty well situated to get the threshold fairly fast in this game, even though he's on 5 cards.
Yeah.
I think. So we're going to have to be cautious with our volume at this point, as the tournament hall is close to closing down, and as such, the players and hear us if we're a little too loud.
About 20 people left, give or take, in the hall.
And if Robert already has it, I mean, that's just too much.
There's no way. Okay, I was going to say, there's no way on a mulligan of 5.
Doesn't mean he doesn't have it. I mean, this could be...
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right.
It could be Petal, Reanimate, and Entomb.
Yeah. And given what we've seen from him today, that's right within his ballpark.
Can this man finally be slowed down?
We're going to find out.
And he's very much impressed me with this play so far today.
I mean, you can definitely just tell that he's played this deck just a ton.
Mm-hmm.
Just so much. And doesn't stray from playing it.
But this would be really impressive. Granted, of course, Craig has also mulliganed to 5, but I think that's a pretty big edge for Rogue Delver in this situation. We'll see how far away Robert is from executing something.
So a perfect brainstorm with the fetch land. Just going to pass the turn back. Man, he can't be stopped. Aaron Nystrom with Death and Taxes up a game over Rug Delver. Did it pretty quick, too. These players should take a little bit of time mulligan to 5, but Pear is not messing around. You can definitely tell he is confident with that deck.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
And this is actually an actively good matchup for him, as opposed to the match he went through in the top 8, which was Elves on the draw. I mean, pretty crazy stuff.
Crushing. Yeah. Yeah, he's from Sweden, and players in Europe really do like Death and Taxes. I haven't actually got to talk to him this week, and I was wondering why he's in the States. I mean, it's awesome that he's here and he's playing. I wonder if anything brought him in here in particular. Maybe he wants to qualify for the Players' Championship. Who knows? Ponder going to keep here. There is a Scalding Tarn. Across for 1. Nimble Mongoose working its way towards threshold pretty quick here.
Although Craig's hand is a little bit on the reactive side at this point, so he may be a couple turns away from getting the threshold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Scalding Tarn's 4. You got Brainstorm there. That's 5.
Yeah.
Fire Ice can act as number 6. It'll take a couple turns, but Verdant Catacombs. Careful study. You see him playing a land first. Doesn't want to get spell pierced.
Mm-hmm.
This must be a very important careful study here for Cucanato.
And remember, he's aware of the snare in Craig's hand.
Yep. So Exhume is going to be no good here. There goes Gristlebrand and Underground Sea. That's step 1. Uh-oh. Ponder. Every time he casts a spell, I'm just like, oh boy.
He plays it with such authority that it's just...
Ponder. You see an Exhume, a Grave Titan, and looks like an Elishnorn. Not what he's looking for.
Yeah, again, Robert is aware that this Exhume is no good.
And he's just going to shuffle. He's looking for Reanimate.
Yep.
And he's got to find Reanimate pretty quickly because he can't be too low. Reanimate can be shut off.
Yes.
I mean, that's just the feeling whenever you play against Reanimator. I mean, we're here in the booth and we're scared for Craig. Whenever he taps a single mana, oh no, just a ponder. What are we so scared of?
Because one of these times it's not going to be just a ponder.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Random card coming. Can he find a Reanimate? That's what he needs. Just going to pass the turn back. Does Cucan over to Bargo. Bargo, a turn of reprieve. He'll untap. He'll take a draw. It was a ponder. All he needs to find is a card like a Force Will. That'll probably get the job done. Hit 1, Tarmogoyf 2, Tarmogoyf 3, Brainstorm. Will he keep or will he shuffle them away?
I think anything that just accelerates he's just basically looking for things that can accelerate the velocity with which he gets to threshold or Force of Will as insurance. Those are the big ones.
Gonna go shuffling.
Tim Ayton just confirmed that the Grammy in question for Drops of Jupiter was Best Rock Song, thus invalidating anyone's claim that a Grammy is a reasonable metric for a song's quality. Rock Song.
What does he know?
Rock Song.
What does he know? Attack from 1 in the mongoose. Tim, thanks for watching. Appreciate you.
Yeah. One love, baby.
I think maybe he picked up a Grave Titan.
Yep. A couple. I mean,
Through the back door?
we're really not that far away.
I know we're not. You said in Detroit he hard cast a Tithe Tyrant.
He has no 2-mana lands in his list, which is noteworthy.
Okay. It's a real shame to see the Grave Titan get dazed.
That would be really depressing. Craig's got a real hand too.
Yeah.
It's crazy too. You look at Craig's graveyard and hand and all that. And this guy mulliganed to 5. I mean, it really highlights just how resource light Rug Delver can be.
It looks like he wants to cast a Brainstorm, but he also likes a lot of the cards under his hand right now. All the while, again, he does want to get this thing to threshold pretty quickly here because he wants to start attacking for 3 and not 1 so he can shut off Reanimate. Picked up a couple of lands and a ponder there with the Brainstorm, so he's got to put 2 back. Again, Force of Will is basically the checkmark for this situation.
Pretty close to it, yeah. Especially if Craig can shorten the length of the game here.
You have to try.
Yes. And of combo decks that exist in Legacy, Reanimator is one of the most robust when it comes to mulliganing to 5 because it's not like Storm. It's not about a saturation of cards. It's just, can you find A plus B? But even still, it's just very challenging, especially when spells of yours are getting tagged with Spell Pierce and Daze along the way, and you have so many dead draws because you're either drawing redundant reanimate effects or creatures you can't cast or whatever.
We go shuffling. 1 card away now here from Threshold, so the Mist Rainforest can obviously satisfy that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Wasteland, there's a Fire Ice. You can.
Yeah, plenty of ways to do it. How about a Ponder? That'll work. Still digging for Forest, it looks like. 1, 2, 3. What can Bargo find? Stifle, Daze, Waste. Still not exactly what the doctor ordered. None of these cards are bad per se. It just seems like Force of Will is the best one he can find.
And I mean, what's he doing? Obviously, Robert has Underground Seas to target with Wasteland, but that's not what the game's about at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Although with a Daze in hand, then maybe he can try to go on some sort of mana denial plan. Even Lightning Bolt seems like a pretty powerful draw in this spot.
Speed things up.
Yeah, and also just get him to a spot where Reanimate doesn't do anything, and we already know that Exhume or Animate Dead doesn't work because of the spell snare. So just closing off the outs.
He's reaching for mana. Careful study. It's funny how terrifying this is. Cucan finding a Force of Will. Even though Bargo has just been pondering and brainstorming and doing all of these things like crazy to get everything set up, he still can't feel all that safe. If Grizzlebrain comes into play, he just loses. It's time to go discard. And you saw him pick up a Force of Will. He's just looking for a reanimation spell, preferably reanimate. There goes Forces of Will. Not interested in those.
Oh.
We're one away from Grave Titan. Unfortunately, you can see Bargo's hand. He's just staring in a daze. Gonna sacrifice the fetch land here.
I appreciate Robert's moxie for trying to go with the Grave Titan plan here.
Whatever it takes, man. If Grave Titan gets it in play, Bargo's dead.
Yeah. The cards are what they are. He's got it, you know. He already has a creature in the graveyard. It's not like he's waiting for something like that. Most of his reanimation spells don't work, so this is a path. Got to start somewhere.
Yeah, definitely do. No argument there. Bargo gonna untap, take a draw. That Mongoose is a 3/3 now. There's a Delver Secrets. Not you either. Down to 8 goes Cucanato. That's a Delver. Breathing in a little bit, by the way. All right, Cucanato. Reanimate's too late now, since he's at 8.
And again, Spell Snare still there.
So now he's just got to cast Exhume. Yep. So now it's just have to cast 2 mana ones and try to get them into play. There's a snare. Cucanato with just Grave Titan in his hand. So there that goes.
And now the fetch lands are shut off too if this Delver flips.
Yep, that's going to do it. That's going to do it.
Yeah.
I think Robert knows it too. You could see him shaking his head.
There was a nod of the head, an acknowledgement that yes, that's it.
Attack for 6, and he's also got the Fire Eyes too to clean it up. So Craig Bargo's going to win this game over Robert Cucanato. Rug Delver up a game over Reanimator here. We're going to bring it back to the booth because it's trivia time, my friend. 6-month giveaway. I promise the question won't be about Train. Patrick actually will have the question, so I guess in theory it could be. If it were me, it would be. But explain the rules really quickly here for you guys. Again, all trivia contests here are through Star City Games, not affiliated with Twitch.tv, so we take full responsibility for our premium giveaways, first and foremost. Second of all, hashtag SCG Premium for your answer. Make sure you're following at SCG Live. We'll ask you the question. Winner will get 6 months of premium, and we will draw the winner at the conclusion of our quarterfinal round, which both matches are currently moving into game number 2. Mr. Sullivan.
So Robert Cucanato's Reanimator deck, we focused a lot on it so far during the Swiss rounds and now during the elimination rounds. It has your pretty conventional package of Reanimator targets, 4 copies of Gristlebrand, and Elishnorn, and Iona, and Tidespread Tyrant. There is a 6-mana reanimation target. It's a black creature. You don't see it in a lot of Reanimator lists. Name that creature.
It's the first time I've seen it, and if you can, name it. Hashtag SCG Premium for your answer. Again, make sure you're following at SCG Live. And again, we will announce the winner at the conclusion of our semifinal round. We're going to head back down to the match. We'll take a look here at the sideboards. Cucanato on a mulligan to 5 that game. Looks like that might be the only way he can be stopped. 3 Pithing Needle, an Ashen Rider, a Spell Pierce, 2 Jace the Mind Sculptor, 2 Duress, 2 Massacre, 2 Show and Tell, 2 City of Traders. What do we like?
Well, not to get ahead of ourselves here too much, but Craig is bringing in 2 copies of Surgical Extraction. That makes trying to go off through the graveyard a little more challenging. So I think you're going to see the Show and Tells 3 and 4 come into the deck alongside the 2 City of Traders to try to give Robert another dimension of attack. I'm not sure if he's going to really want to do too much besides that. He can bring in the Spell Pierce. He can bring in the 2 copies of Duress to try to fight through some of Craig's permission, but by and large, I think he's going to want to keep the deck mostly intact, just bring in the additional show and tells and potentially the City of Traders as well.
The other side, you did mention the surgical extractions, 2 of those, along with the Vendilion Click, 2 copies of Rough Tumble, 2 Grim Lavamancer, a Sulfur Elemental, an Ancient Grudge, just member of Fluster Storm, which I know we saw Bargo bring in last time, Corrosion Grip, Red Elemental Blast, 2 copies of Spell Pierce. Anything else we like there?
The counter spells, the Vendilion Click, and the copies of surgical extraction. That's what I like. Pretty straightforward stuff. Yeah. Just more disruption, more ways to keep Robert from going off, and some very powerful graveyard hate in the form of surgical extraction.
Don't forget on the other side of the bracket, Pair Nystrom against Kyle Hutchins. Nystrom up a game right now. Death and Taxes looking tough to beat in the hands of Pair. Playing against Rug Delver on one side, and you've got Cucan versus Bargo here. We could have a Rug Mirror. We could have something entirely different. Death and Taxes versus Reanimator.
So you are a big Reanimator fan. Not quite as much as you are Goblins and Charbelcher, but you are a fan of this deck in general, correct?
Yeah, I am. After playing it in DC, I was a fan of the deck.
What are the matchups you're most concerned with? Because we see Cucan just rolling through this tournament.
I felt like at that tournament, which was a while ago now, the thing I just didn't really want to play against was Deathrite Shaman or, like a deck like Bug, just because I didn't really formulate a game plan of what I was supposed to do to try to get around that card, which is kind of a silly thing to say, honestly. Like, I felt like
It is popular, after all.
Yeah, really silly thing to say. How does your deck be Deathrite Shaman? I have no idea.
Well, you do the same thing with Goblins and True Name Nemesis, so it's not really that crazy.
Yeah, similarly dead. The reason I played that tournament is, one, I don't really get a lot of time to play test for tournaments anymore, given the job and the traveling and all of that stuff. And then when I'm, working on the website, when I'm not doing this. But it seemed like it was pretty straightforward for the most part. It was really powerful. It was like the fastest combo deck that you could play that I felt was really powerful. And I also just had a lot of interest in putting Gristlebrand into play that weekend. But that being said, I just didn't really feel comfortable against Deathrite Shaman decks. I felt like over the course of the tournament, I started to actually formulate some sort of game plan to get by them. It mostly involved show and tell, honestly, to be able to try to get by those decks. But those are the decks I would be worried about the most. Decks like this, you can, a lot of the time, I found, especially when you're in the Lotus Petal version, you can overpower them. You can do something like that Cucan did in the first match we watched against Bargo, which is just put a Gristlebrand into play on turn 1 with the, land, Lotus Petal, Entomb, Exhume, and then you can have backup in the form of Force of Will or Daze, something like that. And, I kind of like that style of Reanimator because you're just kind of pedal to the metal. I don't want to be bobbing and weaving and trying to work my way through Spell Pierces and Dazes, things of that nature. I just, put to the floor, try to kill you as fast as I can, and that approach is really good against other combo decks, too.
Yeah, no, definitely Reanimator seems like the best of the decks against other combo decks. Because you're so fast, you have a lot of really good disruption, and a lot of things you do are just game over. We've seen Sneak and Show, for example, show and tell in against Reanimator and then lose the following turn. Yeah. Whereas when Reanimator does its thing, it's almost always a lock.
I beat a couple of Bug decks over the course of the weekend in DC. I lost to a Storm deck in the last round playing for the money. I lost to an Esper Stoneblade deck because I wasn't too prepared for Deathrite Shaman. I certainly wasn't prepared for Caracas. I don't really think there's anything you can do. Like, I went through a lot of work to get a Gristlebrand in play in that particular game, found a lot of protection and led with the thoughts. I think I led with the thoughts because I got countered, resolved reanimation spell that put Gristlebrand in play. I think it was reanimate to put me down to 8, and then my opponent just showed me the Caracas in their hand. I'm like, all right, you win. There's not a lot you can do about Caracas, so that one's kind of problematic as well.
Robert's got 3 copies of Pithy Needle in his sideboard, so he's making some effort, certainly.
Yeah, that helps. I do like the deck quite a bit, though. We saw Tommy Graves win with it in Columbus much earlier this year, 3rd week of season 1.
And I believe in Orlando it made a deep run as well, correct?
It's definitely powerful. And, as I said a little bit earlier during the broadcast, whenever you see it make top 8, it's not too surprising. Like, it's not going to throw anyone by surprise, like, Reanimator made top 8. Like, it's, kind of surprising if, some other decks, like, if I told you Enchantress made top 8, it's like, wow, what's going on? You know, but with Reanimator, it's like, well, that deck is incredibly powerful. It doesn't surprise you too much. Again, it's a little bit flimsy. It can fold to a lot of cards, but, this is a really powerful strategy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just perceive that Deathrite Shaman is game over. And it is some percentage of the time, and if you're not very good at piling the deck, it definitely is. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can find workarounds like show and tell. You can have Pithy Needle in your sideboard, or you can just be faster. We've seen Robert win or reanimate it as early as turn 1 or 2, and Deathrite Shaman is just going to be too slow in a lot of those scenarios.
Yeah. You know, there's also games like what happened there with Robert just kind of floundering around. Yes, he did mulligan, but even when you do keep 7, there are times where, you know, you do just kind of flounder around and just waiting to draw a reanimation spell or get a creature in your graveyard. There's also the tension sometimes where you have a draw with show and tell and a reanimation spell, and it's like, do I want the creature in my hand and go this route, or do I want to discard to Careful Study? Things of that nature.
Yeah.
Those things do happen sometimes. So
Sneak and Show has the same issue, though. I mean, it gets plenty of hands where it's just some cantrips, a counter spell, and 1, sometimes 0 pieces of the puzzle, and you're just sort of sitting around waiting for the right elements to show up. So that is true of Reanimator, but not unique of that sort of strategy.
apparently we've got some viewers tuning in from Germany. 4 a.m. over there. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you like Train.
Big shout out to Deutschland, man. Thanks for being with us here.
Cucan is going to win game 2.
That's a bold prediction.
I just got a feeling. I got a feeling. He's not going to go down like that again.
Probably not. I mean, he's probably going to be able to keep at least 6 cards.
We'll see what he can put together. I got a feeling. I don't know what it is.
He has this air of confidence about the proceedings that I really like.
It just feels like, this is a situation where he's just kind of been here before. We've seen him in the elimination rounds before. You can tell he's got a great grasp on his deck, and it's just, just play. That's all you can do. It's a really bad situation for him in game 1 where both players mulligan to 5 because Rug Delver is so advantaged in that position where Cucan actually has to draw perfect, like within the first 2 or 3 turns of the game, or he's going to lose. And it's so hard to do when he's on 5 cards.
Well, these post-board games, I think, are going to get a little bit tougher for him. More impression and surgical extraction. Show and tell, going up to 4 copies, that's a nice tool for Robert, but I think Craig gets the better end of it in the post-board games.
Oh, we're going to find out, that's for sure. I think both players are keeping Cucanato. Going to start off with the Polluted Delta. We'll see if he wants to search for a basic or a non-basic. Non-basic, of course, going to open himself up to Wasteland a little bit here. He's going to go with Basic Swamp.
Yeah, he would ideally like to open on Island Swamp here. Not always a luxury he has because he has to worry about getting stifled in some spots. And the deck is very color mana sensitive. There's cheap blue and black spells, but in a perfect world, Swamp and Island would be where he starts.
We're going Thought Seizing.
All right, well, first of all, let's confirm who Robert is targeting, because sometimes this deck does Thought Seize itself.
That's true. We're going this way. Daze, Nimble, Force, Pierce, Stifle, Misty.
Not a shabby hand for Craig.
An ideal keep. All that hand's waiting for is a Ponder or a Brainstorm.
Yeah, and Robert can't even cut him off of having a threat card here because he has 2 copies. I mean, the Nimble Mongoose is a little bit on the slower side, most likely, but still.
Wouldn't be surprised if it's just a Force here.
Yeah, I mean, it's multiple counter spells and multiple creatures, so there's no path you can open up here. So the most likely scenario is just take the most objectively powerful card, which to me is Force of Will. But of course, all this depends on Robert's hand and how he's planning on mapping out the next couple of turns.
You see, he's going to consult his hand and certainly take his time. Figure exactly what he wants to do. And, wow.
Okay.
The Nimble Mongoose is going to go. That's telling. Picks up a Spell Snare. Does Bargo. I think the thought process here might be if you tap off the Delver's Secrets, you are in a world of hurt.
But
we'll see, though.
I mean, that's curious, though. It's hard for me to wrap my head around what's exactly going on here. Because if you were going to take a threat card here, most certainly you would assume that Delver is the more threatening one of the 2.
Yeah, that's true.
Trying to think what that could even mean.
Yeah. I was trying to think of maybe a backdoor way where you lose the Nimble Mongoose, he plays the Delver, and that's 1 less blue card for the Force of Will type hand, but that's not even anything either.
Yeah, I mean, Craig has a Stifle in his hand he may not be able to use. So.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Blue to Delta. We're going to find out one way or another.
Yeah, I'm sure Robert has a plan here, so I'm not questioning. I'm just trying to noodle it through myself.
Yeah, of course. Gonna agree with the basic island. Next wants to make sure he's wasteland proof. You can't stop, won't stop.
Pair Nystrom.
2-0 over Rug Delver. Winner gets him. I wouldn't want to play him. Either matchup, honestly.
Yep.
Death and Taxes to the finals here in Cincinnati. This is a careful study. 2 cards coming for Cucanato. We're going to see what he's going to put in the bin here in a minute. This.
Really intrigued by the line of play here that Robert's setting up.
Yeah, me too. Grave Titan, City of Traders. Just going to pass back. Delver going to flip. He's going to try to. Yeah, it's going to flip.
And Craig just continues to fire on all cylinders so far.
Ponder to the hand. And set to operation shortly to the red zone, but we're going to begin with a Ponder. Bargo, 3 cards to take a look at. You see there's a Bolt and a Mongoose in the land. Nothing too crazy there. The land will certainly help, and it is a volcanic to give him the other color for that Bolt that's there. And it looks like he's going to keep pretty quickly here. This will give him an untapped source. And in for 3 we go. Cucanato going to take a draw here. Picked up a careful study. Also has a Delta. You see a Force 1 in his hand as well.
So he can definitely power through a reanimation spell, but it's unclear if he has it.
Yeah, I'm going to start with the study. You see him play a land first, make sure he doesn't get spell pierced. Going to draw 2 cards. Looks like a Ponder among them, as well as an Exhume. So that's that might be step 1 for what he's looking for. There's also a realistic chance that even if he does Exhume Grave Titan, he can still lose.
Oh, easily. I mean, Craig's got a flying clock in play.
We know there's a Bolt within the next 2 cards.
And if Robert has to sacrifice his fetch land, that knocks him down to 12, and we're in multiple of 3 territory. So this is a pretty tough spot from Robert.
There's Reanimate. Time to make a move.
Do you think he's getting Nimble Mongoose?
I can't imagine that's the case.
I mean, he's at threshold. It's one.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. we got to get him dead, man. Now, the really interesting thing here is if Bargo says that's fine. Here's a Daze. Gonna sacrifice this. That's a Stifle. Cucanato takes 1 to do that. He goes down to 12. This is a Force. But he knows the opponent has Force of Will.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So the dust settles. Reanimate gets countered. No Grave Titan for Cucanato, and you see Bargo still has a Spell Pierce in his hand.
Yeah, and that covers him. I mean, Cucanato's handless now, so.
Gonna play this, gonna play no Mongoose. I think Craig Bargo's gonna be moving on, Patrick.
Yep. I think so too.
I think this all stems back from the Thoughtseize too.
Yeah, it just didn't. It did not make much sense at the time and did not play out especially well for Robert.
Yeah. Craig Bargo gonna win this match 2-0. A little bit of revenge. He's moving on to the finals, giving Robert Cucanato his first loss this weekend. And we've got Rug Delver versus Death and Taxes in the finals.
Yeah, Per Nystrom gets to try to run it back here against the deck he beat in the semifinals. And a matchup which I think is solidly in his favor. Although